What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Universal Mastery. Welcome back to my channel where I break down the occult sciences and I break them down to a very practical level so that you can use them and apply them in your day-to-day life and get real, actual results with the things that I am teaching here on my channel. Okay? The first thing that I would like to do is just let you know that I have lost my voice because I was on vacation. I went to Disneyland and I went to Universal Studios and I was yelling a lot, so I lost my voice, but it's still there enough to be able to get this message across. So I just want to let you know that I do sound different because I lost my voice, but a brand new voice is coming to me, so I'm excited about that. Just to create a context for the video, I am a professional occultist. I'm fully initiated in the entire Kabbalistic tree. I'm studied when it comes to the 22 archetypal paths in regards to the major arcana. And I'm also studied when it comes to planetary energies in connection with astrology. Okay, so that is just to give you a little bit of a context, just so that you know who you're getting this information from, giving you confirmation that it's coming from an actual practitioner, not just somebody who does a lot of research. Okay, so the topic of today's video, we are going to discuss a little bit about the abyss in regards to the hidden sphere of death within the Kabbalistic tree. Okay, so specifically, there are a couple locations of the abyssal types of energies. So, for example, with the tree, you have the hidden sphere of death, but that doesn't mean that that is the only place on the tree itself where you can experience the abyss types of energies. Okay, so if you want to learn a little bit more about what I'm talking about in regards to these different locations of the abyss on the Kabbalistic tree, so on this diagram right here, this would be Dath. But once again, just because Dath exists in the abyss does not mean that the abyss doesn't linger throughout this tree. So I will show you other locations where you can feel Dath-like or abyss-like energies throughout your initiatory process. Okay, so if you want to know more about this, then definitely stay tuned because this is the video that will give you that awareness. Okay, so I want to start with saying this. There are a lot of people that will tell me, like, if I do readings for them or if I start talking about crossing the abyss, like I've done many times on my YouTube channel, a lot of people will tell me, they'll say, oh, well, I feel like I've crossed the abyss. I feel like I've done that already. I feel like I've been there. I feel like I've had that big death experience, that big ego death experience. And a lot of people will jump the gun and they will immediately assume that in regards to their initiatory process, they will assume that they've crossed the abyss on the Kabbalistic tree, whether that's on the Sephiroth or whether that's in the Qliphoth, okay? So the reality is that there are multiple locations of the abyss, okay? So you can experience the abyss in different locations on the tree, okay? Different abyssal types of energies. So the energies that reside within the abyss are going to be energies of disillusion, energies of large amounts of chaos that sort of put pressure on your conscious awareness that then cause you to surrender because you cannot process all of that information at once. So it's basically like an overload of chaotic dark energy that makes you just surrender to the process of your own personal evolution. It's a very source-based part of your initiatory journey to experience the abyssal types of energies or to experience the sphere of death and going through the crossing. Because really what it teaches you is it teaches you how to surrender. It teaches you how to let go. And it teaches you how to trust the process of evolution. But you do have responsibility when you're experiencing the energies of the abyss, and that responsibility is to make sure you are being impeccable, which means you're making healthy decisions, you're disciplining yourself, and you're allowing yourself to have time to process all of those chaotic energies that are influencing you. Okay, which means taking time to sit in silence, taking time to separate from the world around you, to just process what you're feeling, what's coming to you, what's on your mind, and things in that nature. Okay, and once again, the abyss has a lot of those chaotic energies. So a lot of people, they don't know how to handle those chaotic energies, so they start to react. They start to try to fight against the chaos. They start to try to prove themselves as being somebody who can overcome the chaos, or be the master of chaos by trying to force their way to control it. And that's actually not how you become a master of chaos. You actually have to embrace that abyss aspect of yourself. You have to feel it within. You have to get to that state of the non-being. And that's how you master the chaos. And that would be the value that you get from getting influenced by abyssal types of energies. Because once again, the abyss is synonymous with death, and it's synonymous with disillusion, specifically of your self-importance, which is your ego. So the primary value that you get from the abyss is a complete breakdown of the sense of yourself, and then the rebuilding once you've gone through that abyssal experience. You rebuild into a new energetic state. Okay, so that's just in a nutshell basically what the abyss is about, the energies that you feel from it. If there's some people that are watching this that are unaware of that. But once again, this video is primarily going to be on the different locations, and it's fairly a very simple video. So once again, I want to say this. There are a lot of people that will tell me, I feel like I've crossed the abyss. I feel like I've had an ego death, so I must have gone through some sort of abyssal experience. And the answer is, yeah, on some degree you have crossed the abyss, and on some degree you have experienced those abyss types of energies. But I want to make this very clear. When it comes to the crossing of death, which is the main abyss within this Kabbalistic tree. So once again, there are multiple locations, and I'll point them out in a second. But this is the main sphere of crossing the abyss, which goes from Tifereth to Kether, and this archetypal pathway that goes in between is the archetypal pathway of the High Priestess. So in order to really get the most out of the abyss and feel the full effects of the abyss, which is crossing death, and to be able to get the highest value from the sphere of death, which equates to knowledge, you have to cross this archetypal pathway. So once again, a lot of people will assume that they've crossed this abyss just because they've gone through different locations of crossing the abyss, or different locations on the tree that have those abyss types of energies. But the reality is a lot of these people have not actually crossed the abyss. There are some that have, but majority of the people have not crossed this abyss and have not gone through this archetypal path. So this video is, the main intention behind this video is to give you clarity so that you understand that if you've gone through a very profound ego death, or if you've experienced those disillusion types of energies, that doesn't necessarily mean you've crossed death. Okay, this is a part of the evolutionary process to have ego deaths. For example, I've gone through so many ego deaths leading up to my experience where I personally went to cross the sphere of death. And I had, as I said, I had a lot of ego deaths before getting to that sphere. And there was points on my journey where I thought I was crossing death when I wasn't even there yet. So I just want to let people know, and I want to let you know, that this is a common thing. This does happen. When you're working through this Kabbalistic structure, especially if you don't really understand it that well, and you're just starting to watch videos that are breaking it down and explaining it, sometimes it can be easy to think that you're in a certain location or you've done a very profound amount of traveling, in regards to crossing the sphere of death, crossing the abyss. But in reality, you're actually located somewhere else on the tree. Okay, so this can happen. And, as I said, I was doing the same thing when I was initiating through this tree, mainly because I was newly initiating through it, and I wasn't that studied on the Kabbalistic tree. I was literally learning as I was going. So even though there was times where I thought I was located in a certain area on the tree, I was still open to the idea that maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm actually somewhere else, but I'm going to at least listen to my intuition and allow the world around me to show me signs, to show me where I am. And I'm going to be aware and paying attention to see if I'm noticing any subtle differences and any subtle changes that are happening around me. So that's what I would recommend that you do as well if you're going through this Kabbalistic level of initiation. So once again, the majority of people have not crossed the abyss. They've crossed certain locations on the Kabbalistic tree that have brought abyssal types of energies. So let me show you what these locations are. So first of all, we have right here, this is called the veil of the profane. If you can see that. I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera, but here, right before Malkuth, in order to go from Malkuth into Yesod, you literally have to cross this veil. And this veil is abyssal types of energies. And the reason why is because the backbone of this Kabbalistic initiatory journey, right, starts with the unconscious and subconscious. It starts with the energies that are ruled by the moon, which has to do with your mind, and specifically the unconscious and the subconscious. It's also that feminine current of energy, which makes you have to be receptive if you want to travel farther. So, the moon's also synonymous with the mother, okay? And it's directly connected to females, feminine energy, okay? So there's a veil here. In order to go from the physical plane, where you're locked into your five senses and you don't understand how the world operates. Most people that are in Malkuth and stay in Malkuth and have not made progress, they only see and believe what their senses can sense. So they have to touch it, they have to smell it, they have to taste it, they have to feel it, they have to look at it to make sure it's solid and real. And that's all they're operating from. Okay? Now, in order to make this evolutionary progress to gain occult power, hidden power, it starts with crossing this veil. Okay? And this pathway in between is ruled by Saturn. And it's the archetypal path of the world tarot card, or the universe. And essentially, this would be, since it's ruled by Saturn, for those of you that understand astrology, you would know that Saturn is associated with death. Okay, Saturn's also associated with isolation. It's associated with discipline, order, restriction, but it is associated with death. Okay, and death is once again connected to death. Okay, it's a form of dissolution. So you actually have to die to a certain aspect of your belief system. You have to die to the aspect that the world is only controlled by the five senses, because there's many more dimensions that are all operating at the same time. And if you want to become a powerful person, you have to travel through this initiatory journey. And if you're only locked in the five senses, you're only going to stay here. So you have to have that death in your mindset, in your belief system, and you have to have different levels of discipline, and you have to bring new order to your life that's going to further align you into opening up your mind more and becoming more receptive. And there's going to be restrictions that come into play with that as well, all from this pathway. And there's a veil right here. And this veil, it needs to be crossed to begin your journey. So the journey really begins in the sphere of Yesod. Okay, this is where you learn how to be receptive to then begin traveling farther. So this is the first type of death-like energy you will experience, the first type of abyssal types of disillusion, breaking down, death to your old belief system. And that also can come with death to your sense of self, okay? So that's the first one. Then there is another one that is right here. There are two pathways. So there's a veil right here. I'm going to let the camera get it so you can see that. So right here, this is called the veil of Peroketh, okay? This is another veil on the Kabbalistic tree that brings abyss, death-like experience, that brings high levels of disillusion. Like, you're going to need to experience and be receptive to the idea that you do not know, you don't know necessarily what's in your best interest, from an egotistical stance. Your intuition, your soul knows what's in your best interest, but what you may think is in your best interest is not necessarily the case. So this is this veil that will bring those energies that will force you to let go on an even deeper level and sacrifice your sense of self and your ego to how you thought things were going to be, and allow the natural process of your own personal evolution to take place. So once again, these two archetypal pathways are, as you can see, are both crossing this veil of Peroketh. And I'll read off these archetypal pathways. So this is the archetypal pathway of death itself from the Death Tarot card. And then the one right on the other side is the archetypal path of the Devil, okay? And these are both archetypal paths that bring high levels of disillusion and a different sense of self, a forcible change to your belief system. And that's why this veil is here. And in order to get to the center of the tree, which is ruled by the sun, which stands for awareness, conscious awareness, and is also associated with beauty, you need to have this death, you need to go through this certain level of crossing before you can get to that awareness. So there needs to be that sense of self-death. There needs to be that ego death and that embracing of that abyssal type of energy, that dissoluting type of energy to then get into the sphere, okay? So this would be the second location of the abyss, okay? And these two right here that I just went through, most people, that's where they're at. That's where most people are in regards to when you've had a very intense ego death, when you, like, and, you know, ego death is a natural process of evolution, but there are some much bigger than others. Different levels of ego death. There are different intensities that go behind it. And most people that have had very profound ego deaths, they're actually only speaking from those two veils. So that would be most people, especially people that I talk to and what people tell me when they say, I think I've crossed the abyss. And in my mind, I'm like, you know, with the knowledge I have, I'm like, okay, yeah, you did cross a certain aspect of the abyss, but you did not cross the main location of the abyss. So once again, those were two locations. And then as you can see here, this is the hidden sphere of death, which is the 11th sphere on the tree. And this is located in one of the most intense, profound aspects of the abyss. This is the most intense abyssal area on this Kabbalistic tree, okay? So this hidden sphere is located directly in that very intense, chaotic place where there is huge amounts of chaos. And literally the only way you can cross the abyss is by complete surrender. You are not going to be able to fight your way through it. You are going to have to embrace it and receive it and just observe it. It's literally, it's not hard. It's uncomfortable. It's intense, but you just need to be patient, and you need to really have that feminine current of energy awareness to be receptive. And you don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to be some ultimate hero to be able to cross the abyss. You literally just need to have wisdom and understanding to a certain degree where you realize, you know what? If this abyss experience is about losing self-importance, then let me just let go and lose my self-importance, lose my sense of self, of trying to be this ultimate person that's going to cross the abyss and rule the world, and let me just surrender to this evolutionary process and know that it's transforming me in an extremely powerful way. And once again, although it's uncomfortable and it's going to be intense, it's exactly what you need to go through to really heal your being, your energetic being, because the ego is a disease. The ego is a program that was installed within the human species, that was programmed to distract the human from their highest potential. And this abyss experience destroys a lot of that program that was embedded within the genetic code. And it's a very astral experience as well. This going through the abyss releases natural hormone of DMT within the body, which literally gives you, that's why when you go through the crossing of the abyss, like if you're a real occultist, if you're an initiate, you will literally feel, as you're going through this crossing, you will feel dead. You will literally feel the energy, the hormones that are traveling through your bloodstream of what it's like to feel death. And it's all part of the journey. And yes, obviously that can be scary for a lot of people that think this is not a real system, that think this is just some sheet of paper with a bunch of circles on it. That can be extremely scary for somebody like that. And that's why not everyone successfully crosses the abyss, because some people freak out and then they latch back onto the system. They latch back onto their old way of being rather than being receptive and just crossing. And it's literally that simple, but it's intense. But once again, if you have that wisdom and understanding that I'm explaining right now, you will successfully travel through that. Okay, now this is the main abyss experience. And as you can see, from Tiferet going up to the supernal triad, Chokmah, Binah, and Kether, it's the shape of a diamond. Okay, so this is the diamond awareness once you can get to Kether, but you have to cross the abyss. So this abyss is literally the center of the diamond. Okay, and this is the main crossing. Now there are more locations of the abyss as well, because this is just the Sephirothic tree. Okay, now if we go into the Clipothic tree, it's the same exact concept. There's another veil here. This is the veil of the profane, except the darker version of that. Okay, and then there's the same veil again, the veil of Peroketh, except the inverted veil of Peroketh, the darker version, the more intense version. And the same thing with this abyss right here. Remember, the Clipothic tree is dark matter energy built. It's in hell space. This is some of the most dark matter energy you can get to. That's why it's the lower tree. It's going deeper into the soil, into the roots, closer to the abyss. So when we're talking about these abyssal experiences within the Clipothic tree, we're basically talking about those same ones that I explained from the Sephirothic tree, but in a much more intense way and in an even deeper way. So this is a whole nother level of it. And there will be people that will tell me on my YouTube channel where they're like, they go through one little ego death or one big ego death to them, and then they think they've crossed the Clipothic abyss. And that is not even like, that would be very unproductive to think something like that, because reality is most people have no idea what it feels like to go from the center sphere of the Clipoth traveling through the abyss and going face to face with Khoronzon. This is a no joke experience. This is one of the highest levels of occult magic, and it takes a lot of discipline and a lot of spiritual awareness to do that. So just because this is just a message to everyone that likes to jump the gun and be impulsive in regards to when they're learning, they like to think they've done the best. Just be aware that that's probably your ego speaking. And the reality is you probably just had a regular ego death that was connected to somewhere on the front of the tree with one of these veils. And the reality is you probably haven't even crossed the abyss within the Sephiroth yet. Okay, so don't jump the gun and think you've crossed the abyss within the Clipoth, because this is intense. This is intense. And yes, I'm not here saying that no one's done it. No one that watches my channel has done it, because there probably are. there's not many people in the world that have even crossed this, but there are a lot of people. If you count it, there's a good handful of people. But in regards to the majority of the human population, it's so little. It is like literally probably, I would say maybe 4% of the human 4% of the human population has probably crossed this abyss within the Qliphoth. Okay, and then in regards to the Sephiroth, I would say maybe like maybe around 10% of the human population has crossed this Sephirothic abyss. So we're going from like probably 3, maybe 2 to 4% the Qliphothic abyss have gone through that crossing, and then maybe around 10% for the Sephirothic crossing. But these are just speculations. But yeah, I mean, that's the reality. You know, there are different locations where you are going to get that experience of those abyssal energies. And the reality is most people, once again, are just going through the veils, these different veils. And, that's important. And you don't want to underestimate yourself if you're going through those crossings. You don't want to discourage yourself because, once again, you have to cross those veils and you have to have those ego deaths and those deaths to your sense of self and to your belief system to then build them back up, to create new ones. It's just like exercising. You have to break down your muscle to then let it heal and rebuild. It's the same concept. So once again, that's the case, okay, for most people. So don't jump the gun and think that you've gone all the way into the Qliphoth and have crossed the abyss in those regards, because that's really high level and that's a lot of work, and you don't want to go running around saying you've done something that you actually haven't done, because that's not going to serve you and it's not going to serve the person you're telling it to. So that's what I'm going to say to that. And once again, for people that want to understand how this Kabbalistic initiatory journey works, what I would recommend is definitely just study my YouTube channel. Literally just go through my videos, watch my videos, because I basically explain, all this Kabbalistic initiation throughout my entire channel. I'm explaining it and how it works and how you travel through the spheres. And I would also recommend joining my Patreon, because I talk about all the spheres on the Kabbalistic tree. And once again, on my YouTube channel, I even have all the archetypal pathways that are broken down. And that explains, the energies that you have to experience to go from one sphere to another. So, I know there's people that might watch this that don't even understand how this Kabbalistic tree functions and how it works. But it's actually like, once you get the full understanding, it's really simple. It's completely intricate and has a lot of diversity to it, but the generalized structure of it and the way you travel through it is very simple. It's extremely simple and it's very easy to understand, but you do have to take time to absorb and suck in this information that I'm sharing, and do your own research in regards to just search it up on YouTube, study the different spheres, things in that nature. And I'm telling you, the world we live in today is literally controlled by this Kabbalistic tree. So if you can master the awareness of the Kabbalistic tree, I'm telling you right now, you are going to be extremely aware of everything that happens around you all the time. You're going to be aware of planetary energies. You're going to be aware of spirits. You're going to be aware of the 22 arcana, the tunnels, the pathways. You're going to be aware of why everything is set up the way it is. Things will just make a lot of sense, because you're understanding the evolutionary process to ultimate power, to your own personal evolution. Okay, and especially on my channel, once again, I break down the truth of the Kabbalah. There is a lot of inversions. There is a lot of booby traps that are placed within Kabbalistic ritual that you get from a lot of these occult orders, these mainstream occult orders. So, what I'm talking about is the real structure of this Kabbalistic tree and how it actually is formatted, and how you can properly initiate through it, which is way more simple than what these orders are telling you. It's way more simple than what they're telling you. So that's what I'm going to leave this at. So if you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up. If you are new to my channel, definitely hit the subscribe button. I appreciate that. And hit the notification bell that's right next to the subscribe button, because I post videos as often as I can. And if you would like to gain access to exclusive content, for example, what I was just talking about in regards to the Kabbalistic tree, then definitely make sure you check out my Patreon. Okay, so first thing first, where you'll be able to find the Patreon is in the YouTube drop down. So you'll just go ahead and click that drop down, and it's literally going to be that very first link at the top where it says My Patreon. Okay, so yeah, once again, on my Patreon, I have exclusive videos that are not on my YouTube channel. I have tons of videos. So there's 4 tiers altogether. The first tier is just support. So you actually don't gain access to any exclusive content with the first tier, but it's only $1 a month. But then once you get to the second tier, that's where you unlock an entire vault of exclusive videos that range all the way from teaching you how to do an invocation, which is fundamental for the occult field, and then goes into the spheres on the Kabbalistic tree. So if that's something that you want to study and become more aware of, which is literally the foundation of the occult, between invocation and then learning about these spheres, because those 2 things alone can literally, if you know what, if you're somebody that jumps right in, you can use those practices that I'm teaching and that knowledge and begin your own initiations. And that's exactly how I did it. Okay, it started with invocation and then a little bit of awareness of the Kabbalistic tree. I didn't go jumping into doing rituals that were coming from occult orders, these books from occult orders that I didn't fully understand. And I'm very thankful that I didn't do that, because that set me up for success. So at tier 2, you gain access to that exclusive content. Then at tier 3, that's where you're going to gain access to my magic training course, which is an actual course where I'm demonstrating high-level magic. Okay, this is demonstrating high-level magic. If you are really taking your magical practices to a more serious level, and you want a step-by-step structure to follow, and you want to know exactly what tools you need to have to pretty much set yourself up for the highest potential of success. Okay, when we're talking about the occult field, I mean, reality is you don't need anything. You don't need me. You don't need any tools. You just need to be intuitive, and you need to trust yourself. You need to jump into what your intuition tells you. But obviously, the world we live in, there's a lot of indoctrination, a lot of programming that prevents people from trusting themselves. And it would be much harder to begin occult practices to a higher degree without having a structure and having the certain tools that you can use to really feel that process. I mean, I'm a high-level occultist, and I have all these rings that are ritualistic in nature, ritualistically charged. I have a necklace that's ritualistically charged. Everything I do, and I have all my tools up here that are ritualistically charged, and it just empowers my occult practices. So once again, at tier 3, I teach you all of the tools you need. I teach you how to link to your tools, which basically means charge them. And then I go through step-by-step practices that are really high level, that teach you how to control spirits and move energies into your tools to help empower yourself. And this is all leading up to high-level initiation, which is high magic, that I'm going to be teaching next after the magic training course. So this is all what you will gain access to at tier 3. Okay. Now at tier 4, this is going to be a personal service that I perform on the 29th of every month. And this is a service where I'm literally using my own occult power to change your entire energetic body for anyone who is signed up for this tier and is, a new tier member. So this is what I call the vampire service. And what I'm doing is I'm changing your energetic structure to be more universe be in nature, which means more receptive, so that instead of pushing energy out to chaos, the chaotic environment or the chaotic people around you, you're able to suck in energy and receive chaos. Okay, you're able to pull it in, which then turns all that chaos, which is potential, into your own potential, into your own power. And that literally fuels you in everything you do in regards to trying to manifest things and in regards to evolving to a higher degree. So this is a service that, once again, I perform for anyone that has the top tier service on my Patreon. And I do it on the 29th of every month, except for the 1 month that does not have a 29th. And this is literally one of my most popular tiers, and there has been tons of amazing feedback for the people that have gotten that service so far. Okay, so once again, that's tier 4. And at the end of this video, if you want to study that service a little bit more, I'm going to have a linked video at the top that will explain a little bit more about this top tier service if you want to take advantage of it. Okay? And with that being said, I would like to give a special shout out to all of the top tier members of that service. I have all of their names that are below that first link, so huge shout out to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, specifically that have that top tier service. Okay, I highly appreciate all of you for specifically taking your practices to that next level. So yeah. Now, the second shout out that I would like to give is to all of my Patreon members in general. I appreciate all of you for taking your knowledge and your practices to that next level, mainly because, you know, this occult information that I'm teaching is very valuable information. It's very sacred. It's very hidden. And once again, you know, I'm not somebody that believes that it needs to be hidden. I am somebody that believes that it's going to be hidden as long as it needs to, but I'm somebody that believes that evolution is necessary. And obviously there are people that are being led towards this very powerful process of evolution, which is literally the root of your own personal evolution and self-development. And I love teaching it. And once again, for those of you that are taking advantage of that, that's always appreciated. So huge shout out to all of my Patreon members in general. Okay. Now, a third shout out to all of my YouTube subscribers. I appreciate all of you for really absorbing and taking in this content. Okay. Let's see here. The next link that I would like to take your awareness to is the second link that is in my YouTube description. Now, on that link, that is where you can book your own personalized tarot card reading with me, where I literally can locate exactly where you are on this Kabbalistic tree. So if you want to know where you are on the tree, rather than just assuming, rather than just assuming and locking into your assumption as if you know you're right, it would always be great to get a reading with me and get that extra confirmation if you are right, or maybe get a different awareness, depending on what the reading's saying. So, I've done over 100 readings so far, and I've literally been able to pinpoint where everyone is located on this tree. And, after 100 readings, there's been tons of great feedback, and it is a very powerful reading that I do. I mean, I can locate where you are in this tree, and I don't know too many people that do that in regards to tarot readings. So, once again, that's going to be the second link below. And there's also people that I have done multiple readings for, up to 3. That's the highest so far. Multiple people that have gotten 3 readings from me. And it's so cool to see, like, literally every time they'll get a reading with me, it is literally continuing off of their last reading. So, for example, I've had it to the degree where somebody will get a reading from me, and then a couple months later, so the way I do the reading is I use 3 cards: present, near future, long-term future. And their first reading had the present, near future, long-term future, and then the second reading showed that for their present moment, it was their near future card from their last reading, because the time frame that they booked that second reading with me was in that short near future time frame. So I've literally had a reading, this is actually a recent one, where the exact same card that was on their previous reading for their near future became their present card for their second reading because they stepped into it. So it gave them that clarity they wanted to see if they've been traveling on that tree, and what energies are also being associated behind it, like what they're experiencing, what they're going to expect, and everything of that nature. So I always find that fascinating, and I love doing that. So yeah, once again, if you would like to book that, the second link below is where you can do that. Okay? Now, the third link below is going to take you to my YouTube membership Psychic Warfare program. So there you can become a YouTube member. So that means whenever I do my live streams, your name is going to appear in green, and I'm going to give you a special shout out. I'm going to say, hey, shout you out. You know, I always appreciate seeing my YouTube members in the chat. And you also get a badge, which is the moon badge right next to your name, which changes into my sigil once it's done, my YouTube channel sigil. And after a month, it changes. But then, more importantly, you gain access to exclusive emojis. And I have strategically set up these emojis in a way that you can use them for psychic warfare. Okay, and this is very powerful. I have, once again, individually created all of these emojis. So these are not something I got somewhere else. I've created them myself. And they are used in a strategic way in order so that the way you're placing the emojis, you can place a target on the computer. It's all set up so you can do it by typing, and it's literally takes 10 seconds to do. And I've set it up in a way where you can literally use the emojis to destroy your target. And this is one of the new levels of psychic warfare and how it can be used, which is actually new to the occult field. Not many people understand this technology, and not too many people know about it. But this is technology that is being used on a daily basis by some of the higher level occultists that influence these industries like the movie industry, the music industry, the TV industry, and all these other media industries. So I broke it down in a more simplified way and in a more powerful way, where you can literally use these emojis to destroy a specific target that is trying to come against your own evolution. Okay, and once again, there has been a lot of feedback from it, and at the third link, by becoming a YouTube member, you also gain access to that, and the special community post, which is the online dungeon of where you can destroy your targets and exactly how to do it. Okay, so once again, the third link is how you gain access to that. Okay, other than that, this is going to wrap it up. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate all of you very much, and I really do hope you have an amazing rest of the day or night wherever you are and wherever you're from, and I will see you on the next video. Okay, later.